welcome to your first weekend warm-up for 2022. They said come to Bahrain. They said it would be warm. Sam Collins, Lawrence Barretto. It is chilly and it is windy, isn't it?
They lied to me, Rosanna. It's too cold.
It's okay. We'll get through this warm-up as quickly as we possibly can. And talking of as quickly as possible, we want to recap the 3 days of testing that we saw here at Bahrain International Circuit. Sam Collins, I'm looking at you because you are going to do the warm-up wrap-up. You're going to time it.
I've got the stopwatch. So you've got 90 seconds to tell us what happened. Are you ready?
Yeah, right.
Go.
Pre-season, there were 2 sets of running in Barcelona where it was cold like it is now, and the cars went quite quickly. Some of them fell apart a little bit, but they all looked very different. We didn't expect that. And then some of them we all thought they were going to go. Cars that were quick, that we didn't expect to be quick, were quick. So Haas looked faster, and Ferrari, they looked like they were coming up. They were the best team. McLaren, though, they didn't bounce down the straight. Everybody else was bouncing down the straight, and we all learned about aquatic wildlife. I'm talking about porpoises and porpoising, how the cars oscillate at speed and bounce down the straight, and what the engineers can do to get around it. Then we all came to Bahrain for the official first pre-season test, and everything changed, particularly the Mercedes. They got rid of their side pods, they were bored of those apparently, and put their mirrors out on sticks, which Ferrari think are a bit funny, and they're asking about the regulations on, but they all seem to be legal so far, but we don't know that to be sure, but everybody's still talking about it. Haas suddenly, well, when their car wasn't broken, they went faster, but then some drivers they didn't expect to be in the car reappeared, like Kevin Magnussen from nowhere, got into the car, went quite quickly, and in fact Mick Schumacher, I think, was the second fastest driver in testing, but the fastest driver overall was Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, but he used a really soft tyre, and how much fuel was there in the car, we simply don't know. McLaren, though, they ended up having a few disasters. The car didn't run properly all the way throughout the test. And then teams like Alpine, and nobody really noticed them. They did quite a good job. They got quicker. Fernando Alonso seemed a lot happier. And it looked like that was the story for me of testing, was the unpredictability.
Bong.
Wow.
Very
That's
good.
incredible. You even used 30 seconds to talk about Spain. Well, there we go. That is what happened before we got to Bahrain for the first set. Now we're back. Whatever. Hello, George Russell over there. Let's talk about Red Bull. You mentioned Max going fastest in the 11th hour. Of course, a few things changed, upgrades that he thinks are going to stay on the car. So we're thinking they could be the ones to watch this weekend?
Well, there were always ones to watch, and the updates are definitely on the car. I had a look earlier on. There's probably a few other little bits they're going to tell us about tomorrow as well as that. However, that car is not as advanced as people think it is. That fastest time they did a few days ago in much hotter conditions was on the softest tyre. That tyre isn't in use this weekend, and now it's all about the middle set of the tyre, or the hardest options of the tyres. First race, hard compound tyre, right down to the C3 in the middle. I think Max might struggle on that tyre a little bit more than people realise.
Well, that's the Red Bull situation. Let's talk about Ferrari, because they were reliable, weren't they, Lawrence? So what can we expect from the Scuderia this weekend?
I don't think pre-season Rosanna could have gone any better for Ferrari if they'd set out a tick list of what they want to got through. They got through everything. The car felt really good. They've got a package that wasn't that new coming to Bahrain. I don't think they've got much here either. They just want to understand what they've got. Talking to Charles and Carlos, they're so excited about this year. I genuinely feel inside that team they think it's going to be a good year.
Oh, can you imagine the Tifosi's reaction? Well, let's hear from Charles Leclerc talking to Lawrence Barretto a little bit earlier on.
So Charles, pre-season testing, I'm guessing went as good as you could have hoped for. How are you feeling ahead of the season?
Yeah, it felt good. I mean, we've done a lot of laps, which was our main priority, not having any major issues with the car, only the bouncing, of course, in Barcelona, but we managed to improve from Barcelona to here with the bouncing. And we've done a lot of tests, so that's exactly what tests are for. And yeah, it was very interesting. So we've learned a lot. We haven't changed much the car from the first test to the second test, which I think is a good thing also for the knowledge of the car, and we know quite well the car. So I'm happy with this test.
What do you think's made the difference this year? Has it just been a stronger winter? Has it been you guys have just gelled quite well? Has it been just the new rules and it's given you an opportunity?
I think it's mostly the new rules that gave us an opportunity. I mean, whenever you are a bit late on something in Formula 1, then to recover is very difficult. So from 2020, once we did a step backward, then it was very difficult to come back at the top. But now, this year, with the new rules, a completely new project, it was the time for us to be back at the top, and hopefully we managed to do that. It's not sure yet. We'll have the full answer on Saturday during qualifying, but it seems that we are closer to the top at least, which is a good thing.
And you can hear more from Charles Leclerc on the pre-race show. And we've now moved down to McLaren. But I think let's talk about Mercedes as well. Of course, their engine in the back of the McLaren. But Mercedes were struggling, weren't they, in the Bahrain test? You mentioned the Zero Pod making the appearance, but they didn't seem to have a handle on it, did they?
No, the Hyde pods, as I like to call them, they weren't really... I think they probably worked effectively, but we've got to remember that Mercedes didn't have the big wind tunnel allowance that some of the teams further down this paddock did have. So there are areas of that car that might not be as advanced as some others, and I think we're possibly expecting too much from them. The car porpoised like crazy. It was quite difficult to get rid of it, and both of the drivers seemed pretty unhappy with the way it was handling and the way it was driving. But then that's sort of the story of testing for the last 5 years, and they go and win the Constructors' Championship. So, I mean... Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's going to be more than that. It is going to be a battle, though, the compromise between the ride height. I spoke to George Russell on the way back from the test, and he was saying, if we can unlock the potential, it is there. So perhaps you're right, Sam, a bit.
Yeah, I think that there is that underlying belief in the team that they can get on top of their problems, like Sam alluded to. They have tough testing before, and then they came back like Lewis last year, came and won the race, and no one probably really thought that he was going to win the first race of the season. So I don't think there's anyone that worried down there. I think it's just disappointment that perhaps they aren't looking as strong as they would like to at this point in the year.
Well, great news for McLaren fans and Daniel Ricciardo fans. Back in the paddock, recovered from COVID-19, saw him sitting out at the front of their hospitality
Smiling
earlier
again.
on. Smiling again, exactly. Lando Norris putting in a lot of hours in the car, but they were struggling as well. You mentioned it in your 90-second wrap. Is that something they can get on top of? Andreas Seidel seemed a little bit downbeat about it over the course of the Bahrain test.
Well, they never did get on top of it last week at the test, and we were told to think warm thoughts, particularly for you, Lawrence, because it's a bit chilly out here. McLaren don't want to be thinking warm thoughts. They've been overheating their front brakes significantly. They've introduced a new front brake duct, I saw it in the garage earlier on. Will it work? They don't know. They've got to take it out and track and see what happens. But these cooler conditions should help them all the way through the weekend, apart from on Sunday where it's going to be really hot.
Yeah, exactly. Jackets off on Sunday. Let's hear it from Lando Norris, who spoke to Lawrence.
So Lando, the first race of the season's here. You got to do a lot of testing last week. How are you feeling after that?
I wouldn't say the most confident I've ever been. I think many good things, of course, some obvious bad ones. And I didn't do a lot more testing than everyone else. In fact, I probably did less in many ways. I did more laps, but I did it in double the amount of time everyone else had. So isn't mathematically as much as almost as what some other people did do. And I think ours was a lot more biased towards shorter and aero runs rather than long runs and understanding quite as much stuff as what everyone has done. So I think we're in a good place. I can't lie. I think we're in a decent place, but we're definitely behind in some areas, other teams, and we need to work on them and try and make up for that before the race starts on Sunday.
Right, Alpine. You said that they've brought parts that no one's noticed, so tell us where these parts are, and are we going to see different ones tomorrow in FP1?
Yes, they've changed their side pods quite significantly. So they've gone a bit Red Bull actually on the rear of the side pods.
An undercut?
It's undercut as it was, but it's also scalloped on the top. It's like they looked at Ferrari, they looked at Red Bull, thought, okay, somewhere in the middle. It's quite neat. They relocated their radiators underneath all of that. They've been changing the leading edge of their floor loads. There's been loads of work going on that car, and I just don't think we talked about Alpine enough.
Is that reactive to what they've seen on track, or do you think that was always coming down the track?
I think that was always coming down the line. It would have taken far too long to do the aerodynamic development and evaluation of those parts to bring them after seeing them in Barcelona and here last week. It's just not possible. But that team, I think, is going to be a bit of a... Well, I can't call it a dark horse because the car's a bright pink, but...
A unicorn.
Bright pink horse.
Unicorn. There you go. Well, we're outside AlphaTauri. Of course, the battle between these two potentially could be one we need to watch over 2022. AlphaTauri, pretty reliable, I would say, over the course of the test. What feeling are you getting from the team?
I'd say that Pierre and Yuki were reasonably happy with how things went. I think they could have felt, well, talking about Pierre, there he is. I was saying that he probably wasn't as happy as he could have been. I think they've set their expectations after last year's quite strong year. They've set their expectations much higher, and that's meant that they want more and they were expecting more. So I'm not quite sure where these guys are going to shake out, and I don't think they know either.
No, exactly. Ones to watch. And of course, Yuki Tsunoda now into his second year. Is that going to give him more confidence? Said to me earlier on in the test he was out of control last year. So perhaps we'll see something different in 2022. Here is Yuki Tsunoda. Well, Yuki, it's nearly race weekend, I'm going to call it. What have you been up to since we finished testing?
I went back to UK with a P actually. We did a simulator works find a bit of tuning for the car and development. While other drivers, I guess, they're having a nice beach. I mean, like, but anyway, hopefully that simulator session works well, and we can maximize that data to develop the car to get better compared to the Bahrain tests this week. But we'll see what's going to happen. Yeah.
So no beach time for you.
No beach time at all. Yeah.
What was the correlation like? How accurate were you guys?
I mean, like, lap time was quite similar. The lap time we were doing in the tests, but obviously, I mean, I don't know, compared to other team. Well, I don't know. We're also doing different thing, but we found that we are not happy what we had in the end. I think, especially in the performance run. So we had a kind of correlation, like try to understand more about the car, and to make sure what parts or what update we have to bring to this week.
Do you know what part you need to bring? Have you worked it out?
I cannot say. If I say, team will be very angry at me. But hopefully it will work well. Also, we had a kind of maybe issue, but anyway, like, hopefully it's gonna be a completely different car again. And I think also, I guess other team will be. So
is it something we'll be able to see on the car tomorrow when you roll out?
I think so. I'm not really sure as well, to be honest, like what part they changed. And also it's quite visibility or not, but I think they changed a couple of things, but I don't know. As a performance, it's not much difference. But anyway, we had a couple of good data from Bahrain already, and we had a good confidence from last week. So we had to put it all together, and yeah, we'll see.
We've blown our way down the paddock. It's so blustery and so cold. But we're outside Aston Martin because this was where the biggest news headline really came out of the paddock today. Sebastian Vettel testing positive for COVID-19, which means Nico Hülkenberg is back.
The super sub.
The super sub.
At least he's used to this, right? He's done it 3 times in 2020 for Racing Point. So he knows what it takes to jump into a car with very little experience. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do.
Obviously hoping Sebastian Vettel makes a speedy recovery, and hopefully, maybe he'll be back for Saudi Arabia next weekend. But Nico Hülkenberg, I mean, with the new cars, we can see him over our shoulder. Ooh, that's weird. Talk about him when he appears. I guess it'll be a new car, but it's the same for quite a lot of drivers, isn't it? Everyone's got this new car. Everyone's the same.
Well, at present, 21 people have driven this generation of Formula One car. The extra one is Pietro Fittipaldi.
Robert Kubica.
And Robert Kubica is 22 people. And moving into the next generation, so you're going to see that'll go up one because you've got Hülkenberg in the car. The thing is, it's actually not an easy thing to make a quick driver swap because Hülkenberg's not a little fella. He's about my height. He's got big feet. They've got to adapt the front of the chassis to suit him. They've got to adapt the seat to suit him. They've got to find some overalls for him that are the right colour. They're not pink. They're actually green ones. I don't really understand. Does he loiter in car parks near race circuits just hoping have helmet will race?
Well, can't wait to see Nico on the grid. Sending our best wishes to Sebastian. Another new face on the grid, which we're kind of now used to. The news breaking a week or so ago. Kevin Magnussen back on the grid with Haas. And such smiles last week for the test, but great to see Kev again.
He really wasn't expecting this callback as well, which I think was why he's enjoying it so much, just being back in the Formula One paddock.
He's forgotten how much we use and abuse our drivers in the media pen, I think.
Well, he was in such good form when I chatted to him earlier today. He was almost enjoying media duties.
Yeah.
So let's enjoy. I hope this honeymoon lasts for as long as possible. But I'm excited to see what he can do in the car. He's already said that he settled in super quickly. He knows the guys really well. He knows all the systems, all of the buttons he needs to use during the race weekend. So hopefully he can get up to speed quite quickly this weekend.
And they were quite fast, weren't they, at the test?
That car, the Haas, is, mark my words on this, that car, the Haas, is going to surprise an awful lot of people this weekend.
Not me, because you've been saying it since day one in Barcelona, so it's old news to me now.
It is true, I really do like this car. It's the most complicated car in the field. The Williams is quite complicated as well, but doesn't seem to have been working as well as the Haas. Haas does have one big problem. It works quite well when it runs, but it doesn't run for a very long time. They've had a lot of reliability issues.
Well, I think this is the key thing. Kevin saying the biggest thing of all this weekend is to finish the race. Let's hear from Kevin, who was chatting to you. You've been busy today. Chatting to Lawrence earlier on.
So Kevin, it's great to see you back in a Formula One paddock, and we're just days away now from the return to Formula One in a race seat. How are you feeling after a little bit of testing, a few days off?
Just excited. You know, it's so weird to be back in this way. You know, it's so it all happens in such a short time, and now I'm here getting ready. It's Thursday, I'm driving tomorrow. And only like a week and a half ago I was on holiday in Miami with my family and friends. So super weird experience, but super cool. So happy.
So how did it feel after a few days in the car? I know you're super fit, you're an elite athlete, but it's different to be a Formula One fit, isn't it?
It is. And as I said, I was on holiday in Miami when I got the call, and it's going to be tough in the first race, but I'm sure it's going to come back very quickly. The main thing is the neck always. That's one thing that you just can't really train that. Even in off seasons that I've had in the past, you always try and train your neck and get ready, but it never works. And now I've had 15 months out of the car, so I can feel my neck when I was driving in testing last week, and I'm gonna feel it again this week.
Was it quite easy for you to settle in though, back into the team, back into the car? You know all the system checks, you know all of those kind of things. So was it easy to get up to speed in that sense?
Yeah, it was. It was like it's like I never even left. All the procedures, as you said, and all the switches and the way things work here. I just know it so well that it didn't even feel like I'd been away. So that part was good, and also driving the car, I got in and it didn't. It's not like I haven't been driving for 15 months. It's just I haven't driven Formula One cars. But I thought, let's see how it goes, how alien it feels. But it felt like, again, just normal.
And so we come to the final two teams that I want to have a chat with you about. Alfa Romeo. It's been a tricky couple of weeks, hasn't it? Is it going to get any better, Sam?
No, not really. They've
Sam.
designed. No, it's not, because they've designed for the first time in many years since they were BMW Sauber. They've designed and built their own transmission, their own gearbox. That's not an easy thing to do. It's a very brave decision. They didn't want to go Ferrari's way on the rear suspension. They've done their own gearbox, and predictably, it doesn't work particularly well. They'll get that reliability fixed, but it's just really early days for them. So no, I don't expect them to be particularly reliable. I think that car can be super competitive, but not at the beginning of the season.
Oh, this is a problem, isn't it? Balancing reliability and performance. Do you just give a little reliable car and get to the end of all the races for the first few and then build the performance, or do you go for the performance at the moment, Lawrence?
I feel like they were going for the performance, and that's perhaps where, like what Sam was suggesting, a few of these gremlins that really hit them hard in Barcelona and to a lesser extent in Bahrain. I feel for Valtteri, because I think in the small periods of time when he's been out there and he's managed to get a series of laps, the car's actually quite strong. So if they can get on top of things like Sam suggested, it'll be interesting to see how far up the pack they can push. I'm interested to see how Joe can do this year. He's settled in really well. He's had a great pre-season, tons of laps under his belt, and he's feeling pretty good about things.
Well, then we come to Williams. Of course, another new driver pairing with Alex Albon joining the team and partnering Nicky Latifi. I was kind of hoping for more from Williams, but it doesn't feel like they're quite there yet for the start of the season. And maybe, again, it'll just be a slow and steady kind of build in.
Yeah, I think it's another situation. I think the Williams car, it's a really nice bit of engineering. It's a really nice looking thing. It's got some really clever details on it.
Nice looking thing.
But I don't think they found out how to make it work properly. And that's the problem they've got. They're porpoising right throughout the range of the speeds that they drive at, right throughout the ride height range. They don't seem to be able to get a handle on just how to make that car work. They haven't found it set up. They may get a breakthrough this weekend and suddenly it'll start going really quickly, which means they'll find a whole load of new problems. But I think there is a real chance that Williams are going to have an absolute shocker this weekend, next weekend, and the weekend after that, and then suddenly come good as we get back to Europe.
Right, well, fingers crossed for them. So tomorrow, let me have a little word on what you might be looking for in the pit lane tomorrow. What upgrades might you be watching out for?
I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's like Christmas time every day here. I don't think that any one car here is going to have going to have at least one new thing on it. There's so many new bits. Ferrari already got a new diffuser I've seen. McLaren, those front brake ducts I talked about. AlphaTauri, they've changed their cooling around a little bit. Alpine have completely reworked the car. Williams are just trying to find fixes to their problems, as are Alfa Romeo. It's just so much fun. There's so many new bits. It's going to be brilliant. This is going to be the real story of the 2022 Formula One season, and it's all about engineering, which is brilliant because that's what the sport's about.
Well, that is fantastic. I'm glad you're in your happy place. Lawrence, I'm going to put you in a tricky place now. Predictions, please. Well, actually, I'm going to ask you first, just because we like to then counter. Let's see. So your predictions, top three for Bahrain Grand Prix.
Okay, I am going to say the winner of the Bahrain Grand Prix is going to be Carlos Sainz.
Ooh.
Followed by George Russell. Followed by Mick Schumacher.
Oh,
Whoa!
oh, that's really bad, us laughing, because that might come true. Okay, go. Now you.
So I'm going to go Carlos Sainz,
Okay.
Charles Leclerc, and Pierre Gasly.
Okay, so
What are you gonna go for?
am going to go for Max Verstappen to win, Charles Leclerc second, and I'm tossing up between George Russell and Pierre Gasly for third, and I think I'm going to go like you, Pierre Gasly. So there we go.
What a result. If any of those
It's
come
gonna be
through,
fabulous.
it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, and it's going to be, we're going to have a fantastic Grand Prix. So, Sam, Lawrence, thank you very much for your company. And we will be here throughout the weekend bringing you more insight, more technical analysis from Sam, try and get you closer to these new cars. Join us over the course of the weekend. But for now, goodbye.